Today on Pro Church Daily, we're talking about the lobby kiosk and how to drive more next steps at your church.
Well, hey there, and welcome to Pro Church Daily, the show where in 10 minutes or less you'll get your daily dose of tips and tactics to help your church share the message of Jesus while we navigate the biggest communication shift we've seen in the last 500 years. I'm your host, Alex Mills. I'm joined as always by the boss man, it's Brady Shearer, and today we're talking about the lobby kiosk, how to drive more next steps at your church.
I want to start off this episode of Pro Church Daily by reading out a Facebook post that was published in our Nucleus Insiders private group. It came from a guy named Tim, and there's an accompanying photo of Tim's lobby where he's set up 4 different iPad tablet kiosks that are running his website, and that's really the whole idea behind this episode. Tim said, "We opened up a new Next Steps hub today in our lobby, kiosks in the front, counseling and prayer couch sections in the back. We've been getting average response, so far, but this was a whole new level of engagement once we opened up these kiosks. Our biggest crowd was our second conversations, people who have visited, decided to stay a few weeks, but really didn't know how to integrate, how to take that next step. We were flooded with those people the entire morning. A prompt from stage to go online to our Nucleus worked for our regulars, but that never seemed to work for newer people. But we've been swinging and missing for almost 2 years. This space is a successful breath of fresh air. Sure, it's the first week, but we're praying that this tool continues to be helpful for our community going forward." For decades, churches have been using the head to the lobby and take your next step.
Yep.
And it works on Sunday mornings. That's why we've been doing it for so long.
Yeah.
But we are now in a place in the 21st century with tech where we can take this to a whole new level. And this is the idea of the central hub. If you want to learn more about it, we talked about it in episode 61 of Pro Church Daily. This idea of having a single destination for every single next step in your church. Now, why is a single destination so great? Well, there are a number of different reasons. One, it saves money because you only have to pay for one platform.
There you go.
2, it saves time because you only have to manage and maintain a single platform.
Yeah.
And 3rd, it drives more signups and engagement because your church only has to remember and use one platform.
Yeah.
Using a single destination for every next step, we call it the central hub. It's a game changer when it comes to getting more signups, more next steps, which are, of course, more steps along the spectrum of helping people love God, love people, and make disciples.
That's what it's all about.
Which is every single church's vision or mission statement in some way or another. Here's one piece of feedback we got from a Nucleus user, a person who's integrated this idea of the central hub in their church. His name is Jonathan. He said, "We couldn't figure out how to get everyone in our church on the same page. Nucleus was the solution. It was elegant, simple to use, and all of our info and signups in an easy-to-access place." And whether you use Nucleus or not for your central hub, it's less about that, and this is more about the idea of having your central hub set up. And one of the ways to make it awesome is to have it set up in your lobby as a kiosk. And what's great about Nucleus is that it works great on tablet. And so we want to talk about if you're going to set up your church's website, your Nucleus, if you're going to set up this idea of a lobby kiosk on a tablet, whatever software you're using to power it, obviously we think Nucleus is the best. It's really besides the point. We wanted to talk about 4 tips that we got from real users of Nucleus, real churches that have done this at their church, how they've managed to make it work great. And then we want to talk about some of the hardware, the stands and the apps to make this actually work the best. So, tip number 1, this one comes from Adam. He says, use an older person to man the station, and then old people don't feel like it's just for the kids.
It's actually really good feedback.
This is a huge tip, and I'm so glad Adam shared it because I never would have thought of it, but it's a game changer. So I know Adam's church, and it definitely skews a little bit older, or it has a huge demo that is older, and it can be tough for older people to embrace change. It's tough for all of us to embrace change. The older you get, the harder it becomes, generally. Just because you've lived longer, you're more used to the status quo. And so if you're integrating these new tablets where you're asking people, hey, don't just talk to Pastor Dave at the lobby, don't just fill out this paper sign up, but use our lobby kiosk, it can be tough. And then if you put some young gun next to it, they can feel like, look, this is obviously not for me.
It's a millennial thing. I can't.
Interestingly, we found that Nucleus has excelled with so many older people, and I know that it's worked in Adam's church, and I think this is one of the big takeaways. He's had someone stand next to the kiosks, stand in that lobby area. And so if someone has trouble, they can just come over and help. Have that be an older person so that the older people that you're trying to convince to use the platform don't feel intimidated by it.
Yeah.
That's huge.
That's great.
Tip number 2. This one comes, I don't think I wrote down this individual's name, but tip number 2.
From Ben.
Oh, this from Ben? Oh, okay,
Yeah.
this comes from Ben. He said, we send out a what's happening note to all of our volunteers serving that week, and in it we remind them to have our nucleus saved and ready on their phone to help people on a Sunday. So this is great for just making sure your volunteers are all on the same page, just making sure, hey, this is what's happening this week. Here's what you can expect. When people are going to come to the lobby kiosks, here are the next steps that they're probably going to be taking, because here's what we're promoting this Sunday. And just to go back to the idea that, hey, this is just for millennials. This is a testimony we heard directly from a Nucleus user. They said, our first user of our lobby kiosk was a 74-year-old lady, filled out a Connect card, signed up to volunteer, and followed our on-screen instructions to add our Nucleus to her iPhone's home screen.
Amazing.
I think that we get hung up on this idea of, man, tech is only for the young.
Yeah.
My grandparents, all of them, all 4 of them, are crazy on their mobile devices. Why? Because they want to stay in tune with their grandkids, and they've learned how to natively use these devices because their grandkids, they love them so much. And this isn't true for every single person, but even when it comes to social media use, we've seen that those aged 50 plus, this comes from Nielsen, spend on average more than 4 hours every single week on social media, that 50 plus demo. So it's not just young kids. Third tip, and this comes directly from my church, what we've done with our kiosks and our central hub is have a list of the announcements that day, like printed out or written out on the kiosk tables, so the volunteers are prepped. And this kind of goes back to the same thing as you can send it out before, or you can print out kind of like, a set list almost. Right. And you know how you have a set list with the worship teams, they know what songs they're being played. You can print out the same thing. Maybe it's directly from your planning center service. You print it out and you're like, okay, here are the 3 announcements that Brady's hitting from stage. People are going to be signing up for baptism, and they're going to be signing up for small groups. Yeah. That's what they're looking for. So when people come to the central hub, you can actually just queue them up. Hey, what next step are you thinking about? Small groups, baptism? And that way you can be, oh yeah, I was thinking about a small group. And then you've got them from there. Cool. And really what you're doing here is you're training people how to use the central hub on the kiosk so they can do it directly from their own computer or mobile device during the week.
Of course.
And this is just a way of training them how to use it with hands-on, one-to-one interaction. Yep. And that way they can take that and they can be comfortable with using their central hub throughout the week.
Nice.
Final tip, call your kiosk the name of the URL where your website is found to ingrain the domain name in your church's mind. So again, I know Adam does this. He's like, go to the mynewhope.in kiosk, I think he calls it. Or it's like, go to the mychurch.info kiosk. And if you call it the same name as the URL, no one will forget the URL of your website because they are hearing it again and again and again. And this is what makes the Central Hub so great. Mm-hmm. When you use a single destination for every next step, you will be announcing it, phrasing it, saying it so frequently that everyone will remember it. So you're never going to have that thing where people come up and be like, when was that thing happening again? You'll be like, well, did you check out, mychurch.info or mychurch.com? They'll be like, oh yeah, I didn't check that out. Now it's not on you to make sure that person got the information. It's on them because you've communicated so clearly that they know where to go every single time. Yeah. And so you're never going to get that complaint like you didn't announce this enough. You'll be like, well, definitely we did. Every single person knows that this is the single destination for every next step and piece of information.
Yeah. I love this idea of the kiosk because it works to your benefit twofold. And so it enables people on Sunday morning or whenever you meet at church to make that next step. But when you start calling it, mynewhope.in kiosk, and you get that domain ingrained in your community's head, then on the other 167 hours during the week, they get to see, your church gets to seize those 167 hours. And before you know it, you're going to have people, like you said, making next steps, signing up for small groups, and engaging with your church online during the week. And so it's twofold. Wherever your people are at, whether they're at church on a Sunday or, they were on March break, they missed church, and now they're back on a Wednesday, they can engage with what's going on in your community and not miss a beat. So it's great.
Absolutely. Let's close this out by talking about some of the hardware that you can use. Yeah. We have got 2 different tablet stands that we've purchased and tried out Nucleus and the tablet with. The first is the Mount It tablet stand. We bought this on Amazon. It's about $125. You can actually, it's a full stand. So it goes from the ground up into body level. You can lock your iPad in there so it's secure. It has a key.
Literally with a key.
You can cover up the home button so nobody uses that. It's kind of like the robust next level solution. Yeah. But there's a cheaper one too that we found, the Lamicall tablet stand. This one doesn't have legs, right? So it's going to have to sit on a tabletop like what we're working with Pro Church Daily here, but it's $25 instead of $125. Right. And if you have 4 of these different kiosks, that can add up pretty quickly. And so you might want to save money. Those are 2 different options. And then when it comes to software, presenting your website, your nucleus, whatever you're using, without the ability for people to like enter in a different website, like removing that navigation to keep them on that page. The best app we found is called
Kiosk Pro.
There it is. Kioskproapp.com is the URL. There's a free version.
Yep.
There's a basic version, and then there's a pro version.
Yeah.
So different prices. The Lite is free, so you can try it out and see if it works for you.
We had our hands on it today, and it works really well. It's super intuitive, really quick and easy to set up. The Lite plan is going to be more than sufficient for a lot of your churches, but the basic one I think was $34.99, and that gives you some more options there. So even at the basic level, it's not that expensive, and it's a really great tool for this.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, the software to power it all, we recommend Nucleus, which is now open today. Nucleus.church. You can join the hundreds of churches that are going to join Nucleus this week. We'd love to have you.
Yeah.
That'll do it for today's episode of Pro Church Daily. We'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for watching today's episode of Pro Church Daily. Make sure to subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications so you never miss another video.
And if you like this episode, it would mean the world to us if you give it a thumbs up.
Thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.